We live in interesting times. Today's stories. WWF studies the impact of plastic pollution on whales. West African farm boot camp gets green entrepreneurs into shape. In Lebanon, volunteers join a national beach cleanup campaign. Teen climate activist Greta Thunberg reacts after her Amnesty Prize. Best ever simulation solves the 40-year black hole mystery. In Central African Republic, traumatized children draw for therapy. U.S. Jewish community looks to defend itself as attacks rise. ACLU honors the Central Park 5 as Netflix series on their ordeal hits the screens. Plus, Migrant Workers Day celebrates Filipino bravery, hard work, and love. Hello everyone, I am Rose Papa Angeles, bringing you stories from around the globe. And this is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. In the middle of the Mediterranean, the WWF sailboat Blue Panda sails about 20 kilometers off the French coast when a whale is sighted. Immediately, the team of scientists responsible for measuring cetacean exposure to plastic pollution get to work.
L'idée, c'était de montrer que les plastiques, c'est pas seulement quelque chose de mécanique qui peut être ingéré ou dans lequel les animaux peuvent s'enchevêtrer, c'est aussi des composés chimiques dont 4 d'entre eux sont à la fois reprotoxiques et des perturbateurs endocriniens, qui vont rentrer dans la chaîne alimentaire jusque dans le gras des baleines.
Quand on regarde les populations de cétacés, en fait, c'est très emblématique de ce qui se passe pour l'ensemble de la nature. C'est-à-dire qu'on a une diminution des populations qui n'est pas due à une seule chose. Aujourd'hui, ces animaux ne sont plus chassés, donc avant il y avait la chasse, mais ce n'est plus le cas. Par contre, elles sont agressées par plein de choses. Du coup, il faut réfléchir globalement. S'attaquer à la pollution plastique, évidemment le réchauffement climatique, dont la Méditerranée est un exemple malheureusement criant. Donc c'est aussi à toutes ces menaces dont il faut faire baisser le niveau.
Machetes in hand and wearing a straw hat against the sun, the participants of an agri-boot camp in the farmlands of the West African nation of Benin harvest maize, cowpeas, and rice. Oluwafemi Kochoni, an organic farming teacher who runs the agricultural workshop to prepare young people for a future sustainably working the land, said, quote, "Cut at the base, then leave the plants in place. We will bury them. They will decompose and fertilize the soil."
L'agroécologie veut qu'on nourrisse le sol. Et le sol va ensuite nourrir la plante et la plante va nous nourrir. Donc, à partir du moment où on nourrit le sol, convenablement, c'est toute une science, hein, il faut l'avouer, c'est toute une connaissance, savoir justement ce qu'on restitue au sol, dans les proportions dans lesquelles on les restitue. À partir du moment où on fait ça, je pense que le pari est gagné et les rendements sont au rendez-vous. Oui.
The agricultural workshop to prepare young people for a future sustainably working the land said, quote, "Cut at the base, then leave the plants in place. We will bury them. They will decompose and fertilize the soil." It's beginner's advice, but the program in Tori Bosito, just outside Benin's economic capital Cotonou, aims to teach basic traditional ways of agriculture to those who have forgotten or never known a life on the land. In Benin, a poor country next to oil giant Nigeria, some 80% of its 11 million people depend on agriculture, according to the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization. The FAO warns most are subsistence farmers eking out a living growing crops on small plots where a lack of infrastructure and flooding that can wipe out harvests and seed stocks are key challenges. But the agri-boot camps, the name is borrowed from the intensive training of the U.S. Army, take place close to the suburbs of the city and are aimed at a different market. They are part of a wider movement to encourage self-sufficiency on the continent, which is some 2/3 of the world's remaining uncultivated arable land, but spends $64.5 billion a year importing food, according to the African Development Bank. For 27,000 CFA francs, or $45, about 40 euros a week, agri-boot campers learn agricultural techniques, follow marketing courses, and can network with successful agro-entrepreneurs. Like in traditional farming, the agri-boot camp way of life is communal on the 7-acre plot of land put at its disposal for the week by a family in exchange for baskets of vegetables. On the edge of the fields, a border hedge of moringa plants and grasses are grown to help stabilize the soil. There's also a fish farm in a pond and another area to grow mushrooms. Behind the Shim is the Gardens of Hope, an organization promoting sustainable ways of farming.
Vraiment, je veux produire différemment. C'est pas parce que je suis dans une ONG ou pas, mais j'ai remarqué que tout ça, et pour pouvoir réutiliser encore la terre après l'utilisation des pesticides, tout ça, ça devient compliqué. Donc pourquoi ne pas produire de façon naturelle et utiliser sa terre de façon durable?
Benin is a youthful country. Nearly 2/3 of the population is aged under 25. Camp organizers want to show young people struggling in the crowded cities looking for a job that working the land can offer an alternative and successful livelihood. Originating from Africa and Europe, the 25 participants in this third agro-boot camp are mostly men and of 8 different nationalities, but share a vision of an ecological and sustainable way of farming. They sleep in tents and are kept busy from dawn until long after dusk.
On a choisi ce concept parce que nous voulons montrer quand même que c'est qu'ensemble on est fort, à la jeunesse que c'est ensemble qu'on est fort. Donc si chacun apporte sa pierre, nous pourrons construire, bâtir quelque chose de sérieux et de bon.
Tout ce qu'on voit à longueur de temps, c'est les moyens de production de masse, tout ce qui vient de Chine, tout ce qui est importé, alors qu'en fait il y a énormément de choses, il y a ici un terreau incroyable. Donc déjà apprendre que ces initiatives existent et qu'un réseau existe et qu'on peut s'inscrire dans ce réseau en fait, tout simplement, et très facilement parce qu'il est très ouvert. Donc ça c'est une chose, je pense que ce sera très certainement ce que je retiendrai le plus de l'agro-bootcamp.
The Lebanese Ministry of Environment launches a national beach cleanup campaign, which many have joined in order to convey a cleaner image of Lebanon. The cleanup campaign will cover more than 150 locations and reach water depths up to 25 meters.
بنشتغل على تنظيف الشاطئ وتوعية كمان لأهلنا بلبنان وببيروت خاصة على شاطئ رملة البيضاء لحتى نقول لهم إنه نحن فينا نكب الزبالة بالمستوعبات ونقدر كمان نفرزهم من المصدر ونأكد إنه هيدي الأشياء عم تتطبق وعم ننظف كمان لأهلنا هن يستفيدوا من الشط نظيف.
نحن اليوم نزلنا مش بس كلبنانية، نحن نزلنا كفلسطينية وسورية وعراقية وسودانية وحتى معنا شخص فرنسي لننظف الشط ولنرجع كلنا نجتمع على هيدا الشط اللي هو جامع كل العالم.
أول شيء هيدا نهار كتير مهم وهيدا شغل كتير مهم عشان أول شيء بدنا ننظف سمعتنا، زبالتنا عم توصل على قبرص وعم توصل على شمال أفريقيا، هيدا شيء أبدا مش منيح، فهيدا نشاط ويوم كتير مهم وأكيد الله يعطي عافية لكل اللي عم بيشارك معنا عشان كتير مهم هيدا النشاط لنا ولسمعتنا.
نسبة التلوث عندنا كتير كبيرة، يعني تقريبا شيء 90% نحن عندنا هون تلوث بسبب العصارة اللي عم تيجي من المكبات اللي عم بتصير، وغير هيك يعني عم بس يهوج البحر عم يطلع مواد بلاستيكية، هالمواد البلاستيكية اللي عم تنزل بالمي ما عم تتحلل، يعني ب 500 سنة 600 سنة ما بتتحلل، منا مثل الكرتون مثل هيدي المواد اللي بتتحلل بقلب المي.
Sweden's teenage climate activist Greta Thunberg reacts after she was awarded a prestigious Amnesty International Prize for mobilizing world public opinion on the looming peril of global warming. An amazing recognition, she said. Thunberg, a fierce campaigner with a gift for public speaking, has become a figurehead for young climate activists internationally.
And we are so grateful for that, and I think I speak on behalf of everyone when I say that we are grateful for this, and it's amazing to get recognition like this. Now school ends next week, and I have decided that I'm going to try to take a sabbatical year from school and try to travel to different places, among others to North and South America, where I have received invitation to attend several meetings and summits. So I will have to try to get there without flying, if that is possible. So.
Coming up, best ever simulation solved the 40-year black hole mystery. In Central African Republic, traumatized children draw for therapy. U.S. Jewish community looks to defend itself as attacks rise. ACLU honors the Central Park 5 as Netflix series on their ordeal hits the screens. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Scientists on Thursday unveiled the most detailed simulation of a black hole yet, solving a mystery dating back more than 4 decades over how the star-devouring monsters consume matter. Coming fresh on the heels of the first ever photo of one of the giant objects, which are scattered across the universe, astrophysicists are now several steps closer to understanding how they form and develop. A black hole is born when a large star collapses in on itself. Far from being a hole, they are instead incredibly dense objects with a gravitational pull so strong that nothing, not even light, may escape them. As they suck in matter such as gas, dust, and space debris, they form an accretion disk, a churning mass of super-accelerated particles that are among the brightest objects in the universe around them. It is the accretion disk that can be seen as a blurry halo around the image of the black hole released in April from the Event Horizon telescope. But accretion disks are nearly always tilted at an angle to the orientation of the black hole, known as its equatorial plane. In 1975, Nobel Prize-winning physicist John Bardeen and astrophysicist Jacobus Peterson theorized that a rotating black hole would cause the inner region of a tilted accretion disk to line up with the black hole's equatorial plane. But no model could ever work out how precisely that would happen until now. A team of astrophysicists from Northwestern University, Oxford University, and the University of Amsterdam used graphical processing units to crunch large sets of data and simulate how black holes interact with their accretion disk. Crucially, their approach gave them the computing power to account for magnetic turbulence, which occurs when different particles churn at different speeds with the accretion disk. It is precisely this electromagnetic effect that causes matter to fall to the center of the black hole. Alexander Chekhovskoy, assistant professor of physics and astronomy at Northwestern Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences, likened matter accumulating near a black hole to throwing a dart towards the board at random. He said, if you don't really aim it, will never hit the bullseye. In the same way, when matter falls into the black hole, it has some rotation, but this rotation will have nothing generally to do with how the black hole rotates. The two rotations will not know anything about each other. Previous simulations manually predicted the additional friction their creators believe was needed to make matter move towards the black hole. Chekhovskoy said, quote, "We're heirs now in our model. We don't have to postulate this friction. We put in magnetic fields, and these actually cause an instability that then causes friction, and the disk falls in as a result. This might seem like a small detail, but it directly affects how fast black holes spin and consequently what effect they have on the galaxies that surround them." The simulation, which produces a disk with two jets of gas and magnetic fields protruding from the center like fountains, shows the inner part of the accretion disk aligning perfectly with the black hole's equator even as the outer part remains at an angle. Chekhovskoy said, "Before now, there was a worry that when you take into account all the complications that come with matter interacting with a black hole, such as magnetic fields, the turbulence in the disk, the swirling motion, those things might kill the alignment effect. We found that no, it doesn't kill it. Actually, the inner parts of the disk do align with the black hole, and we can now more confidently make predictions about how black holes would look." In a makeshift tent, 43-year-old Congolese psychologist Mami Nouria Meniko analyzes the drawings of children suffering from PTSD in the Lazare displaced persons camp. Families from the region are squeezed together here, having fled the abuses of armed groups. For Meniko, this method helps bridge the gap between children and adults.
Lani na babat mbigo chimu kumbaka na dayaka la dilunada lasa asilika fala dilada mbite na jitengo jimbite so bisigin biwa kwa na terchingu bonje mbisa mi disinda gel bidate na mbisa disin la kwa la ka tena sigaji lidimbi.
Avec le dessin, l'enfant s'exprime mieux et ça enlève la barrière que ça pouvait avoir entre l'enfant et l'adulte.
In the aftermath of two recent fatal shootings and a steady rise in anti-Semitic acts, American synagogues feel the need to protect themselves. Armed guards, safety assessments, and now even a tactical rabbi to train volunteers on the use of weapons. Such is the reality today at synagogues in the United States facing mounting anti-Semitic attacks. It is at a shooting range in the hills overlooking Los Angeles that a team of AFP reporters met recently with Raziel Cohen, dubbed the tactical rabbi, who was sporting a 9mm pistol on his hip and carrying a semi-automatic rifle over his shoulder. Cohen was trying to determine how well books can stop bullets. The idea is to transform a library at a synagogue or Jewish school into a shelter in the event of an active shooter situation.
That in a synagogue or in a church or a mosque or anything like that, if they have a bookshelf of tons of books lined up, the bullet's going to stop. The question is just where. So using this is an option, but you now realize that you have to use more than, let's say, 3 books, because this would be equivalent to around 3 books. So now we know we need to do more, but this is why we test. There's always been anti-Semitism, and it's not going to necessarily end anytime soon. But it's not just against Jews these days. We have attacks in mosques in New Zealand. There was a shooting in a mosque. In Texas, there was a shooting in the churches. It doesn't make a difference who you are, what religion you are. It just shows that we're in a world of hate. But I wanted to take people that are victims and show them that they don't need to be. That there's things you're able to do to make yourself a fighter, a warrior, and a protector.
Cohen said, "We're trying to bridge the gap between the time that the shooting begins and law enforcement arrives." Cohen added, "The expression that goes on is that we carry guns because we can't carry police officer, which is not a joke. The reality is that there can't be police everywhere all the time." Cohen, who has been passionate about guns since his youth, is a security expert and certified shooting instructor who has taken part in counterterrorism courses given by retired and elite active duty military personnel. Cohen said his expertise in security took on more meaning after the April 27 shooting at the Chabad Poway Synagogue near San Diego that left 1 dead and 3 wounded. It came 6 months after a shooting at a Pittsburgh synagogue left 11 people dead, the worst attack against Jewish people in the modern history of the United States. According to the Anti-Defamation League, which recorded 1,879 incidents, the third highest level since the 1970s, anti-Semitic incidents in the United States remained at near record high levels in 2018. The organization said 2017 had marked an unprecedented rise in such incidents, with 1,986 cases of harassment, vandalism, or anti-Semitic attacks recorded. Cohen said, given the uptick, it was the duty of the Jewish community to learn to fend for itself. But not everyone agrees with Cohen's reasoning. Ivan Wolkine, Chief Operating Officer of the Jewish Federation of Greater Los Angeles and founder of the Federation's security program, said some 500 groups have joined the program, exchanging information and security tips with police or the FBI. Wolkine, a reserve officer with Los Angeles Police Department, said while he wholeheartedly believes in prevention, he is not convinced that arming worshippers is the answer.
So if you think of a timeline where there is pre-incident, everything that happens before an incident, and then the bang is what happens, and then there's everything to the right, we put 98% of our energy into left of bang. So recognizing, preventing, and mitigating the effects of an attack.
Wolkine said, quote, "I can't make a judgment as to whether or not people should have weapons in their place of worship, but what I can say is to have people carrying weapons without a huge amount of training is potentially very, very dangerous."
My worry with having multiple individuals inside a place of worship who are armed is that the most important thing is not whether or not someone owns a gun, is not whether or not someone has good aim with a gun. It's whether or not there's coordination between different members and whether or not people have discussed and practiced tactics.
He said his program focuses on prevention rather than encouraging worshippers to arm themselves. Wolkine said he fears that people who undergo weapons training may feel overconfident and ignore warning signs leading up to a shooting. He said they may stop looking for some of the pre-incident indicators that are so important. The ACLU of Southern California honors Yusef Salam, Corey Wise, Raymond Santana, Antron McCrae, and Kevin Richardson, who were wrongfully convicted in 1990 in a rape case and came to be known as the Central Park Five. The ACLU also celebrates the Netflix series When They See Us, which was directed by Ava DuVernay and tells the story of their ordeal. 5 men wrongfully convicted for the 1989 rape of a New York jogger accused Donald Trump on Friday of putting a bounty on our heads, as a Netflix documentary sheds renewed light on their ordeal. The Central Park Five case saw a group of teens, 4 black and 1 Hispanic, aged 14 to 16, falsely accused of nearly killing a young white woman. It dominated headlines 30 years ago, sharply exposing fraught race relations in the U.S. city. President Trump, a real estate mogul at the time, amplified public outrage by paying for full-page newspaper ads calling for the death penalty.
They wanted us to be finished with, to be done off. You know, Corey said once that they put a bounty on our head by taking out these full-page ads calling for our deaths. And in many ways, this is life after death. That's right. And so we're so, I mean, it's beyond words to describe the honor that we are feeling right now.
Salam said the names, phone numbers, and addresses of the accused were also published by newspapers at the time. He said, quote, "If you could imagine the horror of that, it was almost as if they were trying to get someone from the darkest enclaves of society to come into our homes, drag us from our beds, and hang us from the trees of Central Park." Despite dramatic holes in the case against them and no DNA match from the crime scene, all 5 were convicted. They spent between 6 and 13 years in prison before a serial rapist confessed that he alone had attacked 28-year-old investment banker Tricia May Lee. But all 5 had already served their jail terms. Speaking Friday at an American Civil Liberties Union event in Los Angeles honoring the 5 men, Salam said, "We were just babies. The system ran over us." The story of the case is the subject of a new Netflix drama, When They See Us, directed by Selma filmmaker Ava DuVernay. It depicts how the 5 teenagers were picked up during a police sweep of the area and interrogated at length, often without the presence of an attorney or a parent. May Lee, who was ambushed during a night run and left for dead in the park, gradually recovered but had no memory of the attack, leaving police and prosecutors under intense pressure to find the assailants. The case was a crucible for tensions and fears at a time when race relations were strained, a cracked cocaine epidemic ravaged poor communities, violent crime was rampant, and the gulf between rich and poor gaped wide. The Netflix series has been praised by critics and has reignited debate over the case, particularly among those too young to remember the case.
Well, I mean, when we lost our voices in '89 and we regained them in 2012 when the documentary came out, and so we vowed that the youth was our main focus, to give back to them and to talk to them, and hopefully there won't be another Central Park 5.
Actor Joshua Jackson, who portrays one of the boys' lawyers in the show, said their treatment by the police, media, and public was a scab that needs to be picked at in the age of Trump. When we come back, Migrant Workers Day celebrates Filipino bravery, hard work, and love. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will return shortly. This is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. I am Rose Papa Angeles. The Philippine Embassy in Washington, D.C. hosted Saturday's this year's Migrant Workers Day, recognizing Filipino migrant workers' sacrifices and celebrating their contribution to today's global workforce. Eliza Gonzalez Mangligmot with the story.
To express gratitude to Filipino migrants in the United States for their bravery, hard work, and love of the motherland, the Philippine Embassy here in D.C. opened its doors for Migrant Workers Day, a day of celebration, services, and a showcase of Filipino food and culture.
We are giving thanks and giving this day to our migrant workers to make them fully aware that they are the reason why we have a landmark legislation. It's a landmark legislation because this is a legislation that looks at labor migration at a very comprehensive perspective, no? From recruitment, deployment, even to integration and reintegration.
What is one of the most common problems or conflicts that you help find solution to pagdating po sa mga migranteng manggagawa?
Actually, of course, we have to understand that the Philippine government, as a matter of policy, does not encourage labor migration. But since we also respect their right to labor mobility, when they go overseas, work overseas, and decide to do that, then the government must provide protection mechanisms. No? So ito mga problema from the most common contract violation, no, to the most complex issues of abuse, no, of our workers, different forms of abuse from physical to psychological. Dito naman sa US, hindi naman natatanggap natin yung mga kaso na physical, no. Syempre may mga problema with their employers when their contracts the contractual provisions are not complied with. So these are some of the issues, but beyond that also we have issues of our workers being sent here na may malaking binabayaran sa Pilipinas, no? Yung ating mga recruitment agencies, we're trying to check them because hindi naman pupunta ang mga Pilipino sa labas, no, para makapag-ipon. Paano kung malaking utang na nila sa Pilipinas pa lang, no? So these are some of the issues that we are confronted with.
Migrant workers Maria, Yolanda, Epifania, and Sarah, all brought here by diplomat employers, say they are lucky for having such great bosses. One thing they all struggle with, however, is the ever-present and difficult companion, homesickness. But thanks to modern technology, distance is now easier to overcome.
Namimiss ko yung family ko kasi napakalayo po nila. Tapos, lalo na sa amin, probensya, walang signal yung internet. So, siguro ang tagal ng kailangan pumunta ng city para makontak sila. So yun, isa po yun sa yung namimiss ko yung family ko po. Ang pinaka mahirap.
Kung naho-homesick po ako, may way po gaya ng internet, kaya para sa anak. Pero gagawin po lahat para sa mga anak. Para lang mabigyan sila ng magandang buhay at mapag-aral sila.
Ang mahirap pag nasa malayo ka, yung homesick. At saka yung kahit may sakit ka, kailangan mong magtrabaho. Buti na lang, mababait ang mga boss namin. Yun lang, considerate sila.
Sa homesick naman, na ngayon
Yung marami ng teknolohiya, so wala namang problema pagdating sa ano.
Original Filipino music, a barong and barot saya presentation, plus nostalgic eats like the ever-comforting ice ube added to the already jovial ambience. Maria, Yolanda, Epifania, and Sarah appreciate events like this simply because being around Filipinos like themselves help them forget being away from home, even for a little while.
Nakakatulong po talaga kasi kung may problema ka, pwede kang lumapit dito. Tapos yung mga organisasyon po, malaking tulong po sa kanila sa atin. Kaya ng event na to, nakakawala po ng homesick.
Sa akin naman po, very happy na makakita ng mga Filipino dito. Nakakawala ng lungkot kasi at least may nakita kang kalahi na Filipino kasi nakaka-miss po talaga sa Pilipinas.
Marami kang makikita mga kababayan, tapos doon mo makikita yung mga matagal mo na hindi nakikita kung minsan. Tapos para lang kayong magkakapatid like ngayon. Kain na. After this, yeah. Masaya, nakakawala ng lungkot kahit papaano.
Saka nakakatulong rin sila, kaya kailangan rin sumusuporta ka kung anong mga event nila dito. Yeah, oo. Kasi sila ang tinatakbuhan namin ng mga OFW.
And for this response and support from overseas workers, Labor Attaché Trinidad couldn't be more thankful.
Taba ng puso, no? At kami po nagpapasalamat sa kanila kasi binibigyan nila ng buhay yung aming mandato, no? Sabi nga nila, masama daw magpasalamat yung mga government workers kasi mandato naman. Pero gusto nating magpasalamat sa kanila kasi nga tumutulong din sila, no, na mapaigi natin ang serbisyo because without their feedback, without their participation, this is actually one of our ways to test whether we can encourage them to participate, no, and make them more confident in government, especially under President Duterte, because President Duterte has promised to take care of our overseas workers.
Booths of community and embassy partner organizations for Filipino workers, such as the United Federation of Filipino Teachers in America, provided information and assistance to those seeking professional development.
We recognize the exemplary abilities of Filipino teachers in schools, in respective schools, and in the community. Here in Philippine Embassy, we usually have summer class program, to encourage the Phil-Am children to learn how to speak Filipinos.
So we also provide community services in the Philippines. We have recipient schools. In fact, Unified before, we have a school building that was donated in Southern Leyte. And we also send books to the Philippines. We also provide scholarships. And we organize international events. We also recognize professionals coming from other organizations like teachers, nurses, businessmen, engineers, journalists, authors, writers, those people who are doing impact in our communities.
Migrant workers agree that with kababayan support from different Filipino organizations here in the U.S., as well as focused determination and enduring patience, make their dreams within reach.
Sakripisyo lang talaga na para sa future ng pamilya, mga anak, yun lang. Na lahat matulungan ng lahat ng problema.
Kailangan maging matatag, lalo na pag inatake ng homesick, napakahirap nun. Kaya bago kayo umalis, mag-isip kayo kung kaya nyo mawalay ng ilang taon. Yun lang, dahil pag inatake ng homesick, wala. Mga pangarap.
Kailangan maging mabait at saka yun nga magbaon ng maraming pasensya kasi ang hirap dito.
Sa mga balak pong mag-abroad na para sa pamilya gagawin po lahat, yung sakripisyo, responsibilidad po. Dapat isa po sa isa-isip.
Sana po sa lahat ng mga overseas workers, magpatuloy sila na makipag-ugnayan sa embahada, sa polo, dahil nandito po kami para makipagtulungan at magserbisyo sa kanila.
Love of family and service to the nation, just a few of the many reasons that push Filipino migrants here in the United States to keep going. Reporting from the Migrant Workers Day at the Philippine Embassy here in Washington, D.C., I am Eliza Gonzalez Manglikmot for Eagle News, 1 with 25.
Thanks, Eliza. That is today's Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Join us tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Follow us on twitter.com/eaglenewsph and on facebook.com/eaglenewsph. Thank you for watching. I am Rose Papa Angeles, and I am 1 with 25.